There it is, the last printer to get a direct drive hot end. I am so happy with this, and it looks like I've got it installed correctly, and it seems to be working fine. Time will tell.
Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, February the 5th, 2024, and it's vlog number 348. So let's have some coffee and get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is not my creation. It is Walter's creation. Now, this is the quilt he's been working on. It's from that kit of African fabrics that we picked up back in last spring in Halifax at the Canadian Quilt Show. And Walter worked on this during the Stephanie Stitches retreat in Georgia at Christmas time. He now has the top done. It looks really good. Now, there were some problems with this pattern, and you've heard us talk about that before, but Walter overcame those problems. And yeah, if I want to be really picky, I could find something, but I'm not going to do that, although revenge would be nice. However, I'm not doing that. So, next stage. Well, he needed some backing fabric, so we went up to Quilter Quilting on the weekend, and he picked out something that he likes, and so then I'm going to show him how to get it all on Lucy and get it quilted. Not sure when that's going to happen. It has to happen in Walter's good time. I make suggestions, and then he'll turn around and go and say, no, I don't want to do that now. So, yeah, when Walter says something like that, that's the way it is. So anyways, it'll look great when it's done, and I want to put it on the back of our love seat in our living room when it's all done, so it can be there on display. We don't have any wall space that we can hang it from, which is too bad because it is a great quilt. Although, I just thought of a spot that it could go. Yeah, got to remember that. I'm thinking. But anyways, I'll discuss that with Walter and see what he thinks when the time comes. But, yep, it looks pretty good in spite of the problems he had with the pattern. And actually, the problems he had with the pattern were not because of his how do you say it, lack of experience with making quilts. I mean, this is only about the second quilt he has ever made in his life, and the first one was done as a stained glass quilt, and it came out gorgeous, and he took that as a class. I think he did one other before that too. He might did a small disappearing 9-patch quilt. He also took a class, but that's several years ago, like before pandemic, I think. But anyways, this one is really more of a real quilt sort of thing, so to speak. Okay, so that's his. What have I been working on? Well, I got the folk art rabbit table runner done. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. That's an in the hoop embroidery project. And if you've ever been interested in knowing how you go about making something like this in your embroidery machine, well, you know, or maybe you don't know, that we have started on So Chatty a series about machine embroidery. And we've already had 2 sessions. And this week coming up on So Chatty, we'll be talking about stabilizers, because stabilizers can really be confusing. And we're going to try to simplify it and tell you what we have learned with our experience. But eventually, we will be demonstrating for you how to do an in-the-hoop project such as this. But anyways, this is all I'm going to say about it, because it is going to be a gift for someone, and I don't want to say any more. And, okay, I have a love-hate relationship with this particular pattern. It is an Art East pattern. I have no problem with how the patterns are written by the Art East Quilting Company. They are very, very detailed. In some ways, there may be too much information, but maybe better to have too much than too little. If you follow the instructions, it does go together very easily. However, the bone I want to pick with the Art East Quilt Company is I love their designs. I think many of their ones that are done as caricatures and, the funny little animals doing funny things that you don't expect animals to do are all really cute, very creative, very nice. However, every one of these patterns has a million little pieces that have to be cut. And I'm talking little. Like there is, I don't know how many hundreds of 1.5 inch squares already in this quilt. And, 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles and things like that. And I don't like working with really small pieces for a couple of reasons. But I'm going to talk about all those reasons tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. But let's just say for now, this is the central part of the quilt done. Now I have the borders. The borders have some little blocks in those as well. They're just not straight, strips of fabric. So that's what I have to work on next. I should have used probably a higher contrast fabric so the stars would show more. My bad, not the pattern's fault, just me. But it is pretty. But yeah, I'm not as excited about this at this point as I was when I first saw the pattern. Probably most of that is my color choice. But anyways, that's where I'm at with this at the moment. And yeah, that's all of the things that I've been working on for now. So let's go back here and let's talk about the 20 best things I saw in Vegas at CES 2024. Well, I didn't go to Vegas, so I've never been to the Consumer Electronics Show. That happens every year. That's what CES stands for. But I love to watch the YouTube videos of people who went there and who are showcasing the latest inventions and electronic things. And my goodness, this is the year of AI. So if you're interested in electronics and things like that, then watch my review here of the 24 best things I saw in Vegas at CES 2024. This week's video of the week has to do with something called the CES Consumer Electronics Show 2024 that's always held in, I believe it's Las Vegas, but I'm not absolutely sure about that. And this is where companies showcase all of their latest electronic gadgets and inventions. I would love to go to a show like this, but I am absolutely fascinated by electronics, and you know that because I have a house full of them. But this does showcase 24 of the best things that this particular individual saw. And I just found it really, really interesting and kind of scary too, because some of the things he's showing, well, most of the things he was showing all have something to do with AI, and artificial intelligence is here. And well, maybe the movie Terminator wasn't so far off, because some of these devices are just taking over. But if you're interested in home electronics, what the future is going to bring, then you're going to want to check out this video. I am sure it will whet your appetite for, well, all things electronic. And so you can find a link for that, and there's related videos as well. There's many of them in my show notes below. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, as always, this Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Link is in the show notes below. All are welcome. And let's see, what else? Oh, and I have links to all my friends' YouTube channels as well. So if you have not checked those out, please do. And please subscribe. For years I didn't ever say that about my channel, like ask you to subscribe. So many YouTube creators, that's just, usually they say that somewhere in their video, near the end, in the middle, whatever. And I didn't give it a lot of thought. But you want to know something? It apparently does make a difference. Just reminding people to subscribe. So please subscribe to my friends. They're all trying to get to milestone numbers for them, and it would be nice if they could. They're very close. They're all very close. So you can help them out with that. And if you've never subscribed to me, but you come here and you watch and you like what you see, please subscribe to me too, because it does make a difference for us creators. And believe me, YouTube really treats us creators like crap. Yeah, they do. and they're getting more crappy all the time because, of course, it all comes around to the almighty dollar, doesn't it? You may have noticed on YouTube more ads and less ads that you can skip readily as well. That has nothing to do with the creators. That is all YouTube. That is all YouTube. So they're basically making money on the backs of the creators. Yes, if we agree to have advertising, well, it doesn't matter whether we agree or not, we're going to get it. So we might as well go what they call monetized and get something for our efforts. It's not a lot, believe me. The only people who are making big bucks are people that get 1 million views on every video they put up. But anyways, it helps. In, every little bit helps. So please subscribe to everybody. Okay, so that takes me to, let's turn over the page. There's also a listing of my past week's videos. If you've missed them, the link is there for you as well. Okay, so let's go take a look at, as soon as I get my screen set up, I'm so professional, not. Yeah, let's check the weather, because the weather has been really weird this year, hasn't it? And yeah, like out on the east coast of Canada, yesterday, some parts of it got over 50 centimeters of snow. Here where I live, we are pretty much snow-free. You can see grass. It's not really growing, but you can see it. And yet, even 10 miles north of me, they have snow. Part of the reason is because I live on Lake Ontario, and the lake does affect our environment. Sort of a micro-environment, if you will. But anyways, we have not seen a lot of snow in my area, which is kind of worrisome for a couple of reasons. One, we need it for the water table. Okay, we need snow. As much as we may not like snow, we need snow. It's just hard rain, frozen rain. The other thing too is Mother Nature has a way of catching up on things. And so here we are in February. I think the groundhog saw its shadow or didn't, or whatever that means. And yeah, we haven't had a big dump of snow really. We could have snow in April. It has happened. We can have snow in the beginning of May. It has happened. And oftentimes it happens when we think we're safe, so to speak, safe. We're not going to get any snow more this winter. And then bang, you're just buried. So yeah, I'm not going to say that won't happen, because it could. So today's temperature is right now, it's -3 degrees, but the high is going to be 4. Now, that's in Celsius, of course. So that's like 28, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, cold, but not as cold as it could be. Now, mind you, February, you're expecting things to start to warm up a little bit. So if we look at the week's forecast for my area, yeah, it is going to do that. We've got a high of 9 on Friday. And then it stays up there. Everything is in positive digits until next Tuesday. And then we drop it, then we bounce back up. And there is some snow, 35% chance, a week from now, supposedly. So there we are. Do they know what it's really like? Well, I wish we were in Brisbane right now, because their high today is going to be 32 degrees. Sydney, their high is going to be 32. So that's Australia. So yeah, well, we'll get there soon enough. Another month and a half, 2 months, we'll be in Australia. Okay, so that's the weather report. So speaking of Australia, okay, you saw in the title I said I have an apology for Australians. It was pointed out to me by a good friend who lives in Australia that I'm a little hard on Australians. I call them rough around the edges. And the way this particular person took that comment and the way I meant it were two different things. What I meant when I say that Australians are a little rough around the edges is I'm not being critical of them. I suppose it does sound that way though, right? Um, it suggests that it might be like I'm suggesting that Australians have no sophistication, that they're backwoods huntsmen, whatever in there. They are not. They are not. Uh, you go to Australia, you go to Sydney, you go to Brisbane, you go to Perth, you go to Melbourne. Um, those places are all very, very civilized. Okay, wonderful attractions, wonderful restaurants, um, beautiful cities, the whole bit. Nothing backwoods about those whatsoever. Yes, they have the outback. Australia's famous for the outback, but the outback is basically a desert, and not many people live there. And we have not been to the outback and don't intend to go to the outback. That's where the things live that can kill you. And that's another thing about Australians that I think makes people think when I say they're a little rough around the edges, that they're out there snake handling and beating off killer kangaroos and bunnies. No, they're not. No more so than we who live in North America. We have our dangerous creatures here too, and yet we survive. We're not out hunting them all the time, cowering in the shadows, afraid of these creatures. No. So yeah, that's not what I meant when I said rough around the edges. What I mean is they don't tend to be as hung up with being politically correct all the time about everything like we are in Canada and the United States. If you say something a little sideways in this country, anyways, you're going to pay a penalty. People are going to attack you. They're going to say, because you've made some innocent comment, you meant nothing by it, that you're either racist or you're anti Semitic or you're being a white supremacist or you're being derogatory towards women, you're being misogynistic, all kinds of things. There isn't anything that can come out of your mouth that somebody somewhere here in North America is not going to try to peg you with it in a negative way. Well, Australians, in my opinion, don't seem to be that uptight about it. I'll give you an example. Actually, this was more in New Zealand, but I heard similar things in Australia. We were on a little tour. Young guy driving. It was one of those, they call them a duck boat or something. They're basically an amphibian vehicle. That, I think that's what you call them. That, it has wheels and everything. It drives on the road, and then you can drive right into a river, and away it goes. It's like a boat. That was fun. The young guy driving it was a very nice young person. He was trying to keep the mood lively and having a good time with everybody. And he told a joke, and it was a gay joke. Now, he didn't know that the two guys sitting behind him in this duck boat were gay. But he just told the joke, and he was unapologetic for it. If that same situation had happened here in my country, there would have been letters written to the company that this person was working for saying that they had been inappropriate, they had been derogatory to the LGBT community, and all this kind of stuff. We thought it was funny. We could have told him a few jokes too that he may not have heard about the LGBT community. I mean, people here take themselves way too seriously. And in Australia, they don't. It's just good fun. So really, that's the way they seem to approach a lot of things. In my observation of Australians, they seem to have a very healthy outlook on life. Yeah, sure. Australia has a political system. They have their problems with their politicians. They have their problems with, crime and things like that, like any other country in the world. Yet, as a people, they seem to love to have a good time and to not get too uptight about the things that we in North America are, curled up in a ball about. So that's what I mean about Australians being a little rough around the edges. They're being real, I think. And the heck with anybody that doesn't like that. And I think that's one of the attractive features for me, anyways, of Australia. So there, I hope that cleared up my comment when I said Australians are a little rough around the edges. What I mean is they're real. Okay, moving on. Have I bought anything this week? Well, yes, I did, but I'm not going to show it to you on here because it is fabric. Of course, when we went up to get the backing fabric for Walter's quilt, they were having a sale, 30% off, and I saw some Dan Morris fabric, and that's my flavor of the month in terms of designers. And so I had to buy some, and I did. And I'll be talking about that in more detail and showing you pictures of that tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. And that's really about it. Well, I did buy another thing, but I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes when I come to the 3D corner. But so let's move to the Grow Light project right now. Now, lately I've been showing you the same old pictures because it's the same old thing happening. And I don't know if our enthusiasm for grow light gardening has dwindled or what. We've got some new growth lettuce coming up, so soon that will be edible. There's a little bit of old growth in the back, as you can see. Should pull that out because we're not eating crispy leaves, not the kind of crisp salad that I want. Oops, wrong way. And here's some more new growth here. The basil has some new growth on it as well, but I think it's time, it's getting like the stalks on it are getting a little bit thick, and that means too that, you know, this stuff isn't really what you want to be eating. It'll be bitter. I love to throw whole basil leaves into a salad that I'm making. I love that. It's like a little surprise when you're eating a salad and suddenly you hit the flavor of basil. You have to like basil though, and I happen to do like it, and it's just like a little party in your mouth kind of thing. So those are coming. Now, the jungle. This is what I've decided to call Grow Light 3. The pepper plants are coming up slowly but surely, the new ones. The onions are huge. Oh my God. I mean, those are nuclear onions in there. Now the tomatoes, you know, they're all droopy. They look like they're dying, but they are producing some tomatoes here. You can see the little green tomatoes on the vine. So it is producing some tomatoes. Now these are going to be cherry tomato size. So we're leaving it for now, just as it is. As you know, I got the wrong types of seeds. These are meant to go into hanging pots, so they're meant to droop. And well, I don't have them in hanging pots. So yeah, they're still going to take some time, but we're just going to leave it for now. I think what we're going to do is once this stuff we have here, you know, gets a little bit bigger, we get a few more things off it, we'll probably clean it all out in the springtime. And I think we're going to concentrate our efforts on probably just herbs, onions, green peppers, and lettuce, because those seem to be the things we have the most success with under the grow lights. So yeah, later in when we get into the springtime, that kind of thing, then we'll start that. And of course, we'll have our garden outside as well. So yeah, that's what's been happening. I think I turned it off there for just a second. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. Story of my life. Okay, so we're back here. Okay, so that takes me to the 3D corner. Now, I said I bought something. All right, I have been running my printers nonstop, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because I'm making a pile of things in preparation for the next retreat at Christmas time in Georgia. And these things that I'm making in my plan, and I've got plans, believe me, take a long time. So this is my printer number 2, as I call it. And you'll notice, or you may not, this is the extruder, this box that's right here going down. This is where the filament goes through, gets heated up, and squirted out to make, you know, your object. Well, the one I had on there is the one that came with the machine. It's done its time, and it finally just gave up the ghost. So I figured it was time to replace it with a more sophisticated type of extruder called a direct drive extruder. The difference between a direct drive and the standard one is no Bowden tube. Bowden tube is just a plastic tube, hollow tube, that the filament goes through and it directs it to the hot end. But the Bowden tube, although they are fairly heat resistant, over time and use, they have to be replaced. And I've replaced them many times because they basically melt down. So I decided, okay, I'm going to buy a new direct drive and put it on this printer. Now, my other two both have direct drives. I replaced those over time. This was the last holdout. And so it arrived on Saturday. So Saturday afternoon, I spent a couple of hours installing it. There's, you have to open up the circuit board, you have to unplug things, you got to do other things. It's not hard. It's not complicated. I've done it before, but it's not a job that, well, because it's very awkward to get at the components. I swear people who make these machines in China have long, thin fingers to get into these little nooks and crannies. But anyways, it's there and it's working fine. And really, if you're into 3D printing, and this is a Creality, printers come in all shapes, sizes, and levels of expense. But if you do not have a direct drive extruder on your system, it's worth the upgrade. They're not that expensive. I think for my Crealities, which are lower end printers, mid-level printers, they're very popular printers. I think it was about $60 Canadian on Amazon. Just picked it up on Amazon. So yep, it's working fine. And as I look over at my printers right now, they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's always a good thing. Did it again. Hit that button. That's always a good thing, as I was saying, when your technology cooperates. Okay, so blasts from the past trips. This is part one of another area of Australia we visited in 2018. This actually is dated February the 15th, 2018, and it was a place called Nurutpa, Nuriotpa. Names are hard in Australia because they're basically indigenous names, I believe. So anyways, this is part one of, I think this one I've divided into 3 parts for you. So this is on the road to Nurutpa. Enjoy.
Now here's something you don't see every day. This is a lawn bowling green, and there's a guy out there cutting the grass, and Walter called it a grass Zamboni. Look at the way he just zips right across. I'd like to have one of those things. They look like fun. Look at it, it just glides over the grass, like no effort whatsoever. That is pretty cool. And that's the start of our day, about to leave from Victor Harbor. And we're on our way north of Adelaide to the Barossa Valley. That's where all the wine manufacturers are. Well, I think they're all over Australia, but we're heading up towards there. We're spending 2 nights there so that we can have some time to explore the wineries. Short trip today. It's only about 250 kilometers. It's only take us a couple of hours to get there. So not a big rush.
Okay, so we're on the road to Barossa, but before we get there, we're going to stop in a little German-like town called Handorf and see what it has and what it's all about. We have a pretty easy schedule today because we're not traveling all that far. So we're just taking it easy. And you can see this is the scenery. It's a little different route than the one we took to come into Victor Harbor. Lots of trees, which is good because that one yesterday was deadly boring for sure. Now I can show you here on the map where we've started out from. So there's Victor Harbor, and we're going up the A13. Sorry, it's hard to keep this camera steady. Up to Mount Compass and over to the B34 and up to Handorf, if you can see it up there. See how good the stabilizer in this camera is. So there's
Andorf. So that's where we're headed right now. Then later we're going to go north of that to the Grasse Valley. Just some more of the scenery along the road here. Yesterday you saw a lot of flatlands. Well, today it's a little bit more rolling hills. Scenery here in Australia seems to change quite rapidly and quite drastically within hours. And somebody passing us because we're not going fast enough for the Aussies. Okay, so this is the little town of Handorf, and it's supposed to be sort of a German-style little place.
Their first German settlement.
First German settlement or something like that. So we're going to explore the little town and see what there is to see. Yeah, I'd imagine. Look at that car. So effective. We're in a little German shop that makes cuckoo clocks of all kinds. Well, there's a little, oh no, it's Dutch. It's not German.
$3,000.
Yeah. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Except you never get one home.
No.
And down near the other end of Andorf. So we both decided that we should stop and have real coffee and German pastry. So
I don't think it's really German pastry.
we're having it anyways. I'll give you a try. And in this cute little place, not a bit, not really cheap, $19.50, which will coffee's into some kind of pastry kind of thing, but pastries are expensive. So, anyways, let's see what these are like.
Breakfasts are huge.
Yeah. Well, if we had known this town was going to be like this and it would take us this long, we'd go from here and head to Turkey. Instead of Cold English muffins with peanut butter. Okay, so we have our Jimmy pastry, Walter cut, whatever it is.
Hummingbird cake.
Hummingbird cake. And I got feasting, which is supposedly been warm as well. So try it, see how it tastes. And have a cream on the side. It's like a Devonshire cake. So, so.
Okay. I'm not sure it's our set.
Okay, at first it was a little different. They're not overly sweet. It grows on you. It's actually quite nice. It tastes a lot lighter than it looks. Obviously, we hate them, as you can tell, because we're eating. Yeah, no hate there. And of course, we found the fairy garden. So we check it out. Get in, find out what your name means. Looks like it's all little doings for your garden or whatnot. That kind of thing. Yellow tree. Yeah, not really into little doodads for the garden because we don't really have a garden. Well, we do, but we don't. And it's winter, so it's not going to work for us. And heraldry? Yeah, no. That stuff's fake. Just found this chair on the street here in Handor, and look what it says. It says, at first I thought it said Ugly Wally, but it says Uncle Wally. And so, it's a Wally chair. It's for Wally. Uncle Wally.
Nice picture too.
Okay, stay there for just a second.
So that takes me to events in the past week. Let's have some coffee because my throat's going. Okay. So what was the highlight of last week? Well, as you know, last Monday when I did the vlog, I was prepping myself to get ready for my colonoscopy that was coming the next day. Well, that has come and gone, so to speak. Yeah, I know I could do a whole lot of jokes here about it being a shitty affair, pain in the ass, all that kind of stuff, right? And I just did. It went well. It went fine. I have to say, you know, right now in our hospital system, in our medical system, our provincial government is trying to privatize it, trying to really break a system so that we'll all turn against nurses and doctors and the medical community in general. Well, I have to say that has to make for a very stressful workplace. I mean, working in a hospital to start with as a nurse, a doctor, support worker, whatever, has to be on any day of the week stressful, let alone all of this other stuff that the government is trying to screw them around with. Well, the nurses couldn't have been nicer, caring, compassionate, and fun. I mean, let's face it. You go in, you get into a little cubicle. They want you to take off all your clothes and put on that really stylish little gown with the open back. They're sticking things into your hand. I got stuck twice when they're trying to put in the intravenous because the young man that was doing it was actually a paramedic, I heard, and he was there for recertification. And good thing. Well, I can't blame him. But he had difficulty. He wanted to go into the side of my wrist. And I don't know if you can see the bruise down here. But yeah, he wasn't very successful. He got it in there and he's wiggling around. And it didn't hurt, but it was very uncomfortable. And he said to me, "Are you okay?" He says, is this hurting you? And I said, no, it's fine. Is there something I can do to help you, though, so you can get that in? Because it looks like you're struggling. He says, no, it's fine. Well, he finally gave up. And he went away, says, "I'll be right back." Came back with a new catheter or whatever they call it. And this time he put it up here. You can see I'm bruised up there too. Got it in there. And I said to him, "So definitely we're having a problem with that, right?" And he says, "Well," and this I wasn't really thrilled with. He didn't really mean anything about it. And it was fact, I guess. He says, "Yeah," he says, "I prefer to put it in where he was putting in the first time in the side here, because," he says, "usually it's better." I don't know why it's better, but it is. But he said I couldn't get it to work because, well, old tissue moves. So I'm old tissue, you say? Okay. Yes, I'm old enough to be your father. True. But if you want to get to my age, you just keep telling people my age that they're really old and that their tissue is moving or whatever. Well, I thought that I didn't say it. Anyways, he got it in, all was fine, and then I lay there for probably about an hour. And it's just one person after another. It's an assembly line. And you see them take them away, and then they bring them back into recovery, and then they're waking them up. And some people wake up really quick and really alert. Other people, because of the drug, are a little bit, well, funny. It was funny. It was a bit of entertainment in a sense. But then I thought, yeah, that could be you any moment now. And then the moment arrived, and they wheeled me in. Well, there's a nurse in there, and she's hooking things up to my chest and all over, and sticky things and whatnot. There's several monitors in there, like showing you your heartbeat, your breathing, whether you're still alive. TV screens. Okay, not the channel I want to be watching. Okay. Then the guy who knocks you out, because I can't say the guy that knocks you out, he comes over and he says to me, "Hi, I'm Dr. Such and Such. I'm the guy that's going to put you to sleep." Okay. Right at that moment in time, I wanted to make sure I wasn't in an animal shelter and I was going to be euthanized, And I said to him, "Okay, great. Just let you know." He said, as he's sticking something into the tube that's attached to me to knock me out, basically. I said, "Make sure you put me really well to sleep. I don't want to be waking up for this. I want to wake up eventually, but not during this." And he said, "No problem." And then the doctor appeared. Now, I have never met her. I have talked to her on the phone, and not what I was expecting, because Walter told me she was this blonde bombshell. Well, I think the bomb exploded a long time ago. Nothing against her, but not what I was really expecting. I guess I was expecting Barbie. Not that it matters. She was blonde. Anyways, I only saw her for about 20 seconds, and then the nurse put a little cup over my face, and next thing I heard was, "Stephen, Stephen," and I thought it was my mother, which is bad because my mother passed away over 2 years ago. It was the nurse in the recovery room. I'm back in the recovery room, waking me up, and it was a good little sleep, and all done. So I did. They gave me a piece of paper, or several pieces of paper, telling me what to do after I got out of the place. To take it easy for 48 hours, kind of like don't be eating spicy foods and drinking alcohol. And of course, when they tell you that, what do I immediately want for dinner? I haven't eaten in a day and a half, almost 2 days. Give me something spicy and let's like back that wine. Well, I didn't do that. Walter made me chicken soup when he picked me up at home, and it was good because Walter makes good soup. You may have seen the short about that. But anyways, yeah, so I had a polyp. I have a virtual appointment with the doctor March the 4th, but I noticed on the chart it said I didn't need another colonoscopy for 5 years. So that usually suggests nothing to worry about. In fact, 6 years ago, I had a colonoscopy, and I think at that time they found 3 or maybe even 4 polyps. But the doctor at that time, when I had the consultation afterwards, said nothing to worry about. This is the most common type. They are nothing for you to get excited about. So I think this is a good thing. I only had 1 this time. Of course, it was this big, but no. Have I seen the polyp? I have, because they have a system that you can log into their system, and you can see the lovely pictures that they took while they were in there scraping me out. Yeah, so there was the polyp. Looked like a zit. So anyways, I guess they froze it off. According to the information that's on this chart, it's not, it's written in doctorese, so, you know, and I'm not a doctor. So that's what I think. I think there's a couple of methods how they get rid of polyps. One is they kind of burn them off, use electricity or something. And the other way is just to freeze it off. So I think they froze it off on mine, according to what I could figure out there. So anyways, yeah, got dressed. No juice box or cookies. I was disappointed about that. I was expected to wake up to a juice box and a cookie. Well, times have changed. Actually, this is the first time I've ever had this procedure done in a hospital. The other two times I had it done, they were at a private clinic. I paid for that. That was by the recommendation of my family doctor at the time, who, I don't know, was maybe getting kickback on that. But I did wake up to a juice box and 2 cookies there. So anyways, yeah. I guess you focus on food more when you haven't been eating for 48 hours. Anyways, they put me in a wheelchair. I really didn't want to be in a wheelchair, but okay, free ride, let's go. In fact, we're going down the hall towards the front doors. They called Walter to let him know that I was ready for pickup. And the volunteer, they have volunteers. He introduced himself, very nice man. Why you'd want to volunteer for this kind of stuff, I have no idea, but you know, I guess it's a good thing there are people like that who do. So he wheeled me down. I went past a guy who was waiting to be called into the colonoscopy section. And I said, wow. I said, and after your colonoscopy, you get a free ride as well. May still been a little bit of the effect of the drug on me. So we get there. Walter's nowhere to be found, but I knew he was coming. He was trying to figure out where he was supposed to go to pick me up. I texted him, and then I saw him. He's coming up right to the front doors of the hospital, and I said to John, the guy who was wheeling me around, I said, well, I'll just go out and get in the car. He says, no. He says, I have to help you. And there was another hospital staff person standing there going, so it's protocol. John will lose his job. Now, I think there was a bit of a joke there, but no, John took it very seriously. He grabbed my arm. I guess, you know, they don't want you falling, right? Because you're still a little woozy. I didn't feel that woozy, but anyways, and took my arm. That makes you feel like an old man, right? All I needed was a cane in the other hand or a walker. And he opened up the door of the car while he's hanging on to me, helped me into the car, and shut the door. So that was very nice. So the whole experience was, I'm not going to say that it was pleasant, that, you know, I'd love to have one of these every day, but it wasn't anything to fear. So for those of you that, you know, they're telling us always to get a colonoscopy, it's good for our health. Yeah, as much as I do not like doctors or the medical community, I fear it. They want to hurt me. That's through my mind. It is a good thing to have done. It could save your life. So if you've been putting it off or don't want to do this, don't. It's a few hours out of your life, and for most people, it's not a big deal, and it could have life-changing effects on you as well. Okay, that's my medical minute for this week. So what else happened? Well, yesterday we had men's sew day. Now there weren't many of us, 7, I think, at one point, which is fine. I'll be honest, that was going to be the last one. When I first broached this idea, when I first planned for this, I had people saying, oh yeah, they want to be on the mailing list and the whole bit. People as in men. And some of them I've never seen. Some of them showed up to the first one. I send out email telling people about it. I get no reaction. I don't know who's going to show up. And so I'm figuring, well, they're just not interested. Sounded like a good idea at the time, not interested. So, you know, I'm taking one Sunday out of the month to basically be here for it. Now, the reality is I'd probably be here anyways because we do our live on Sunday afternoons. We don't usually necessarily go out on a Sunday. Sometimes we do, but we're back for, our live in time. So really, it's not an inconvenience or anything like that. But so I told Walter, I says, I think this will be the last one. But then Walter came and said, no, he says, I don't think it should be the last one. He says, even though we don't have a lot of guys, it's something different from the usual pop-up sew days. And what he was really saying about that, it's different from doing something where it's the majority of the people are ladies. And yes, there is a difference between the two. I'm not saying that it's better or worse. It's just different. So I am going to continue doing. So for any of the men out there listening, watching this, all men are welcome to attend it. It is the first Sunday of every month, and the next one will be on March the 3rd. And they start at 8 a.m., but you can come and go as you please, and they run till 3 p.m. Eastern time on that first Sunday. So, yeah, work on whatever you want. Okay, so that was about the highlights of last week. So what's coming up? Well, big one, the 10,000 subscriber bash. That's coming this Saturday, February the 10th. Doors open at 8 a.m. and it'll run until about 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern time. I'm full. It filled up pretty quickly. Not quite as quick as I thought it was going to. Maybe I scared some people off thinking, well, there's no chance I'll get in anyways because there's only 96 spots, so I won't bother. Well, it did fill up, but not as quick as I thought. But yeah. Now, I had mentioned that I was going to try to do something where people who didn't get a chance to reserve a spot for themselves, that maybe if people had to leave early or something, if spots opened up for one reason or another, then other people could, get in. They could kind of sit in the waiting room that, Zoom has, and I'd let them into that spot. Not going to do that now. Why? Well, my brain wasn't functioning very well, not unusual, when I was putting this all together, because I would have to make the Zoom link public if I was going to do something like that. There would be no other way unless I started a waiting list like I do with the retreats. And I didn't want to get into that because that's a whole nother level of organization. And really, I wanted this to be kind of loose and loosey-goosey in terms of, I would like to be able to work on something I want to work on as well. And when, like on the retreats, I don't. Excuse me. I sit there all day making sure everything's running smoothly. But that's also because the retreats have guest speakers, there's prizes, there's show and shares, things like that. So, there's a lot more scheduled events happening during the retreats. This doesn't have any scheduled events. There aren't any guest speakers. There are prizes, but it's less demanding on me than the retreats are. So, yeah, I'm sorry. If you were counting on the fact that you might get in if someone dropped out, no, it's not going to happen. I'm very sorry about that. But on the bright side, there's always pop-up sew days that I have, if you've never been to one of those, and you don't have to register for those. You just come and go as you please. And usually we can accommodate whoever wants to be on those kind of things. So there'll be a pop-up sew day sometime, probably later in February for that. So watch this space for announcements about that. So we've got the 10,000 bash on this coming Saturday. Those of you that have a reserved spot, you've already gotten a confirmation email. I hope you got it. If you didn't get it, quickly send me an email message saying you didn't get it, and I will send it to you, because it has two important links. One is the link to the bash. You need that to get in because it's a Zoom. It's not a YouTube Live. Okay, it is a private Zoom, and it's not going to be recorded. And then there's the link to my pattern, my first pattern for When Stars Collide, and that's free for you. Now, I've had some people say, well, if I couldn't come or I didn't get in
to the bash, can I still get the pattern? Yes, but not yet. I'm going to wait till after the 10th, and then I will post the link for getting my pattern in my show notes. That'll be next week. So it will be there for a limited time. I think I'll let it stay live for about a week, and then it will disappear for all time. Am I going to sell it? Some people would like to know later on. I have no plans to do so. It's a free pattern right now. I do not have the facility for selling it because I'm not a business. So, yeah, maybe down the road I'll write more patterns as time goes by, and then if I have, several or something, maybe I'll look into having like an Etsy store or something like that. I don't know, but that's way down the road, and I wouldn't bet on me doing that at all. So yes, you'll be able to get a free copy of the pattern after February the 10th for those of you that aren't part of the bash celebration. Okay. And if you have any questions about the bash, please feel free to email me, and I will be more than happy to answer whatever I need to answer for you. Okay, so that's it for me this week. Thank you for joining me today. Idiot Quilter tomorrow, where we'll talk about some of those projects that I have flashed by for you in a little bit more detail, show you some things that I have purchased for the quilting, and yeah, other things on there as well. So Chatty on Friday afternoon will be up. We'll be doing session 3 of the machine embroidery. And then, of course, Stephen and Walter live on Sunday. So busy week for me for producing all these things. So I hope you have a good, busy week, a week where you feel you really get something accomplished. And I hope you have time to work on something creative as well. So we'll see you soon. Bye for now.